I've booked over 300 sales calls and generated over 120,000 in revenue from purely inbound LinkedIn leads in 2025. So in this video, I'll show you the simple process I use to create 3 LinkedIn posts with visuals in less than 3 hours a week, show you exactly how to optimize LinkedIn to generate leads for your AI business fast, and I'll give away the automation templates to make this process 10 times easier. And before you say, Ben, easy for you, you have a big YouTube following. This exact strategy has worked for countless of my AI Accelerator members to get their first clients and to get to 10K and beyond. To start, let me debunk some common misconceptions about LinkedIn that stop people from even starting in the first place and show you why LinkedIn can be one of the fastest and easiest ways to generate AI leads. When I first thought about posting on LinkedIn around 2 years ago, I thought I needed loads of followers, likes, perfectly crafted posts. I thought, who am I to start teaching people on AI? And the guides and resources I read led me so overwhelmed that I never even actually started. So it was only after starting YouTube that I wanted to add another acquisition channel that I started with LinkedIn. And what I learned is that LinkedIn can actually be pretty easy if you systemize it. And especially in AI, as long as your content is targeted, you don't need lots of likes and followers to get a consistent lead flow out of it. And for anyone who's scared of what their network might think, which was me too, let me tell you, nobody cares. So a phrase I like to remind myself of is, who's going to remember this in a year from now? And LinkedIn consistently brings us at least 25 qualified leads a month right now, but it's not only me. Jair from my community landed his first client after 3 weeks of posting. Mohammed got his first 3 clients in less than a month. And Luke and Darren have generated more than 100 leads in the last 3 months using this strategy. Now, why does LinkedIn work well and why is it a high leverage activity you should do? First of all, you can generate leads pretty fast because posts will initially be pushed to your network and connections of connections. So most businesses in the world right now have AI FOMO. And if they see someone in their network posting about it, you'll often be the first one they reach out to. I've seen this consistently happen with my accelerator members and it still happens with me. Second, because AI type posts are getting pushed in the algorithms, they can occasionally go viral, which can really fill up your calendar with literally just one post. And even if they don't, as long as they're targeted, they can bring qualified inbound leads, which tend to be far easier to convert than cold out audiences. But how can you do the same? All you need is really a system you can repeat over and over again. So first, I'll show you the only 3 content pillars you need, which makes it far easier to come up with topics and stay consistent on LinkedIn. Then second, I'll show you the content writing system and automation that I use to write 3 quality LinkedIn posts in less than a couple of hours a week. And then I'll show you how to optimize your profile, which is really the key to converting prospects into booked calls. And lastly, I'll show you how to use DMs to reach out actively to potential prospects. Now, before showing you the 3 content pillars, I want to show you how to not waste your time and create LinkedIn content that doesn't work. Firstly, LinkedIn posts always have to be easily readable because most people scan LinkedIn posts. Second, LinkedIn posts have to be visual. They have to include like images, infographics, carousels, or videos because text-only posts don't really tend to perform very well on LinkedIn. But more importantly, for B2B lead generation, posts have to have a clear benefit to your target audience. Now, the only 3 types of posts I've seen consistently work for myself and others in AI are build in public type posts, which are aimed at building credibility around AI in your niche. Then we have authoritative posts, which aim at building authority around AI in your niche. And then personal posts that aim at building trust and showing that you're human. Now, what do I mean with building in public type posts? Is posts where you show valuable AI automations for your target audience. Now, here you basically have 2 options, video demos or screenshots. Both can work incredibly well on LinkedIn right now, and these types of posts basically show that you can actually do and deliver on what you promise. They can also have a very strong conversion potential because you're showing them solutions, and they can occasionally go viral. If you've been on LinkedIn, you might have seen the N8N screenshots with comment below and giveaways that can go extremely viral. Now, keep in mind that the majority of these comments tend to be AI automation builders, but it can definitely attract many business owners too. So giving away some of these templates or part of templates can be a really good strategy because templates in general need to be customized. They need to be made production ready. And if a business tries them out themselves and they run into an error, you will be the first one they reach out to. And many of my first clients came through like that. Luke, for example, from my accelerator has had multiple viral posts like this and booked more than 100 calls through these types of posts. Masai got to 10K a month by posting content on legal AI, and Jair got his first client after 2-3 weeks of posting. Now, later in this video, I'll show you how you can come up with ideas and get templates quickly for these types of posts. But first, let me move to the second type of posts, authoritative posts. These posts are basically aimed at building some authority around AI in your niche. And here I generally use 3 types of posts. Now, you don't have to use all these 3, but the first one is industry-specific AI insights. For example, in my case, around AI SEO in the age of AI search. Then I have quick playbooks that focus on solving common problems of your target audience with AI. And then the last one is case studies, where you can basically showcase customers' results if you already have them. Now, these types of posts, I tend to use infographics, carousels, and images, which tend to work really well on LinkedIn. And later I'll show you how to come up with ideas for these types of posts and the visuals fast. Now, and the last content pillar are personal posts. These focus basically on building trust and showing that you're human, right? And all you do here is really you share lessons you've learned yourself or personal transformation around AI, of course, that your ICP could relate to. Now, I know this might feel a bit cringe in the beginning. It did for me, but it really does work. And really, that's it. That's all the 3 types of posts I use. And because I defined the type of post, it becomes far easier to decide on topics. I generally just post 1 of each of these a week, so 3 a week. And this is really all you need to do consistently to get results from LinkedIn. But how do you come up with the topics for these posts and how do you actually write them? Now, to achieve that, you just need a system that you can repeat and repeat. And this is the system I use to consistently generate LinkedIn posts in a couple of hours a week. And this is the same process I use to also do newsletters and also partly in my YouTube content creation. Now, the first part of the process, of course, is ideation. And I reiterate again, it has to be helpful to your audience, right? That's the overarching principle. Sure, we can get a viral post, but again, that's not our goal. That's a vanity metric. Our goal is to attract our ICP and our leads. So I've listed out a few easy ways for each of the content formats or content pillars on how to come up with ideas fast. Now, for building in public type posts, you want to share valuable automations that solve common problems for your niche with AI. Now, these don't have to be real client builds or extremely complex systems, right? You can literally just show builds that show automations you've built for yourself. Of course, if you have customer builds, these can be great to show, but other ways to get templates quickly and easily are through AI communities. Of course, we have the N8N template library. There are loads of templates out there that you can maybe adjust a bit, make them a bit more relevant to your target audience. But the key really is to not over engineer. We want to make this quick and easy. And these use cases don't have to be real client builds or production ready systems. Another thing you can do is share custom GPTs or prompts, really simple tools that you can build fast, because these are things businesses can actually use, right? And if you're doing videos, you want to show the outcome first, because many businesses don't understand or aren't necessarily interested in how the automation works in the backend in N8N. And that's what I tend to do, for example, with my YouTube videos too. I first show the demo or the outcome at the beginning, and then I explain the automation at the end. Now, second, for authoritative posts, the best source of ideas is to list your audience's biggest problems, right? And then you try to get playbooks on how to solve them with AI. Now, you can also look at specific AI news for your industry. For example, in my case, how AI is changing SEO. And of course, you can also take inspirations from sales calls or problems your audience mentions here, or you can also take market statistics as an ideation source. Now, for personal posts, the easiest way to do this is by writing down lessons you're learning on a day-to-day basis that could potentially relate to your target audience. Now, you can also think of your past in terms of personal transformations along your journey. The way I do it is every morning I journal, and in my journal, I always reserve at least 5 minutes to think about lessons that I learned the day before, but also things that I mentioned to other people or maybe to clients that seem to resonate with them, right? And usually I can come up with like 1 or 2 of these lessons a day, and soon you will have a database with lots of lessons which you can constantly draw inspiration from. Because the key to good content, even though we have automation and AI, is that it still has to come from your unique point of view, right? From your unique insight. So all you want in this first step is to have an initial idea, right? And that can literally be 1 or 2 or 3 sentences, no more, right? For example, the idea here for me is, if you want to start an AI business, focus on lead generation first before perfecting your AI automation skills. That's all you need for now. Now, what you don't want to do from here is start writing the post right away or using an automation, because that's the quickest way to get overwhelmed, get into writer's block, or produce AI slop. What you first want to do is write a draft. Now, what is a draft? It's basically just a brain dump of everything you know about this topic. And this is going to be the base and the most important for us to get good quality LinkedIn posts also out of automation that actually sound unique and true to you. And I do this by using Whisperflow. I take 10 minutes to just talk about all the ideas that I know about this topic to my computer, and it's just a brain dump on everything I know about it. And then that's basically how I do it. This doesn't have to be structured. It's literally just a brain dump. You just talk about everything you could possibly imagine around this topic. So that could look something like this. Could be longer, could be a bit shorter too. but just talk about everything you know about it. And then in the next step is you want to start picking a writing framework. Now, writing frameworks work really well because they're based on human psychology, and that's really what all good LinkedIn creators use. Now, there are 4 main ones you can use. There are more, but these are the ones I tend to use, which is PAS, problem, agitate, solution; BBA, before, bridge, after; CPF, claim, proof, filter, which is more for case studies; and then we have IDA, attention, interest, desire, action, which is more for personal posts because they're like story-based frameworks. Now, if you want to learn more about these frameworks, I have them also available in the free resources link in the description below if you want to read about it a little bit more. But basically, based on your idea, you pick one of these writing frameworks that makes most sense for this type of post. Now, once you have this, we can start using an automation. Now, this is the tool I use. And again, this one will be available in the free resources link in the description below. But basically, we just take the draft and the idea, we copy and paste that and the brain dump, and we put it into the tool here, right? We paste it in, we select the writing frameworks, in this case, PAS, and you add in your ICP, your niche, right? Your target audience. Now, let's say, for example, mine is people wanting to build an AI business, in this case, in an example post or two. So that's why it could be good to do this once yourself first. So I just add in one of my past example posts. If you have 2 examples, even better. But you can also, of course, always take a reference from some other creator you like, right? And then you just click generate post, and it will generate 3 variations of LinkedIn posts. So it has generated 3 LinkedIn posts here. You pick the one you like most. You can see the LinkedIn post applied that framework that I selected of problem, agitate, solution, right? So here we have the problem, of course, at the beginning. 95% of AI businesses fail before they ever deliver a single project, right? Here's the uncomfortable truth about starting an AI business. We're agitating the issue or the problem, right? You're spending months perfecting your automation skills, learning every new tool, building demo after demo, waiting until you're ready. But here's what actually happens. You never feel ready enough. You keep learning in isolation. You have zero pipeline. You run out of runway. Your business dies before it starts, right? So it agitates the problem, and here, of course, it comes with the solution. Close the deal first, figure out the rest later, right? And because I did a brain dump also with some past experiences, it makes it unique and from my point of view, because, for example, it takes a personal story here from my brain dump. When I took my first AI project, I had no idea if I could deliver. I told the client I could anyway, right? So that's why that brain dump really works, because it makes it unique to you, and it brings in personal stories and insights from yourself. Now, what we do want to do is review and optimize this LinkedIn post. Now, this is what most people skip, but is really going to make your LinkedIn content stand out. Now, the first thing we want to optimize and review and check is the hook. Now, the hook is really important on LinkedIn, and it's the first 2 sentences of your post. Now, why is it important? Because this is what's shown above the fold, and it's what makes people want to read more, right? Click on the button, read more. Now, a good hook has 3 main characteristics. Is, first of all, targeted to your ICP, again, in some way. Second, it has to raise curiosity. And third, it's a clear enough topic for people to know what it is about. So my hook that you saw does raise some curiosity. It does have a pretty clear topic, right? And I do think it targets people that want to start an AI business. But definitely it is recommended to think for 3-4 minutes to maybe come up with a better hook. Now, there are basically 3 types of hooks we can use. We have fact hooks, credibility hooks, and statement hooks. We also have question hooks, but I'm not a huge fan of those on LinkedIn. Now, credibility hooks can be one of the most powerful ones, but of course we don't always have that. So if you can add a credibility hook, then go and use that one, right? For a fact hook, it has to be a surprising and interesting fact about the topic. It can't just be some generic, well-known fact, right? And then a statement hook has to be assertive and confident. So take, again, 3-4 minutes to think about an optimized hook for this post, because it is really worth it, right? The next step is to review the body of the post. Now, most of these best practices are already embedded into the prompt of the tool, but again, it is good to review and optimize quickly. So check that what you're saying is always assertive and confident, right? Don't use words like I think or I believe. Second, you always want to use active voice. Thirdly, you want to replace adjectives with numbers if you can. For example, here I say 95% of automation templates instead of most automation templates, because this just tends to work well, numbers on LinkedIn. And then, of course, you want to break long sentences into short ones, because again, most people scan LinkedIn posts, so you have to make it easy for them to read, right? So take any longer sentence or word that is not necessary or redundant out, right? And lastly, just make sure that the post provides a clear benefit to your target audience. Again, just take a few minutes to actually review it. Now, lastly, you want to, of course, make sure you have a good call to action. Now, generally, there are two layers of call to actions. First of all, you can have a lead magnet or a question. Now, if you can, always try to add a lead magnet. This is how we capture engagement and potential emails, right? And that's why building in public type posts with sharing templates can work so well. But even with other type of posts, if there's an interesting article you found on it or some extra information, you can make this into a lead magnet to capture email, right? You can also reuse the same lead magnet over and over again, but it is really important, right? So there are two ways to do it. We can go with the comment below, of course, which can really help make our post go viral because a lot of people will be commenting. But keep in mind, you have to start sending DMs and answering these comments one by one. There are some automations you can use, but you have to be careful not to be blocked by LinkedIn if you send too many automated DMs. Right. Also, always add in a call to action in the DM after sending the lead magnet because you can get a lot of bookings in right from there. Now, if you don't want to be manually sending out DMs, you have a second option. You can just say that the link is in the first comment below, right? Because generally you don't want to add in links inside of the LinkedIn content because LinkedIn punishes posts that direct to other websites. And if you don't have a lead magnet, you could also ask a question to spark more comments, but I'm not a huge fan of this because it rarely people actually answer those questions, right? And then the second part of your CTA, which you can always include, is it can be templatized too, is to just take the opportunity to make clear who you help and what you offer. Now that's it. Then you should have a pretty well optimized LinkedIn post. And this whole process doesn't have to take longer than 20 to 30 minutes per post, right? The last step of the process, of course, we have to make our post visual. Now, for building in public type posts, I highly recommend doing a quick video if you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but this could be really good because showing your face there builds trust while building credibility and can really lead to strong conversions. Of course, the other option is just to share a screenshot of an ANN. The screen recording tool I use and highly recommend is Screen Studio. Really easy to edit too, really easy to do, and it looks very nice. It's only for Mac though, so if you're on Windows, you can also check out Descript. Now, for the authoritative posts, infographics and carousels generally work best. Now, you might not want to do infographics when you just get started because this is going to take you a little bit of time and it's still hard to automate, right? You can do some initial designs with VO3 or Nano Banana, but generally they include some spelling errors, which can be hard to get out, right? So at the moment, I personally work with a designer who does my infographics, but you can stick with carousels for now. Now, the three easiest ways or options you have to make carousels fast is either to use a Canva template, which you can just reuse over and over again. They have some templates on infographics too, but this will make it really easy. There's also an app called Love Art, where we can basically use AI to generate carousels, and we can actually edit the texts that it generates. So this can be a bit faster. So it's an interesting tool to explore. And if you have experience with Figma, there are also some Figma community templates with carousels that you can easily adapt. Now, all you want to do in these carousels is really just list out some of the steps or the playbooks mentioned in your post. You don't have to overthink this. And at the last slide of your carousel, you always want to add in a call to action. And again, that one can also be templatized, right? And then for personal posts, you can just take some pictures of you working in random places in your office, in your house, maybe from different angles. You can also use this tool here, which I'll also make sure to add in the free resources, is you just upload a picture of yourself and you add in the prompt of where you want to be placed. So for example, generate an image of this person working in Amsterdam, and it will then place you in a different spot. Right? And then we get three options of me working in Amsterdam. Looks pretty good. Wouldn't be able to tell that this is AI. I think maybe this last one, but you can pick one. So that's it for the visuals. And now the next step, and it might sound obvious, but having a good LinkedIn profile is really key, right? And you do want to spend an hour or two here to optimize it. Because potential leads are only going to book in if your profile's professional and it clearly conveys who you help and what you do. Now, the main things most potential leads are going to read are, first of all, your banner, and second of all, your headline, right? Now, ideally, in both the headline and the banner, you want to clearly call out the solutions you offer. In my case, AI growth systems for SEO, LinkedIn, and newsletters. Now, you want to also call out your target audience, in my case, marketing agencies. And ideally, you also want to add in an outcome that these solutions offer to your target audience, right? In my case, scale faster. Now, if you're not 100% clear yet on your exact solution, or your target audience yet, you can also keep this a bit broader. For example, I help SMBs grow revenue with AI automation. But of course, the more specific you can get this, the better, right? But this is something that can evolve over time, and you can also change and adapt over time. Now, then of course, you also want to have a professional but casual image. Ideally, you're smiling with a colored background so you stand out a bit more. And of course, you always want to add in that call to action because it's the one that will be clicked most on your profile. Now, the next thing is you want to add an about section. I see many people skip this or having really old ones. Now, some people do read this, right? Again, remember, this is your landing page. So in the first line, which is above the fold, you want to at least introduce yourself quickly. Again, take the opportunity to call out who you help, what you do, and why, right? Same sort of setup as the headline and the banner. Now, then you can add in a story with some accomplishments and proof if you have any. You can also go in more detail about the offers and the outcomes they deliver. If you have multiple ICPs, you can also add it in after. And if you have any other socials or websites, you can also add it in the end. Now, the next section is really key, which many people overlook, but actually gets one of the highest click-through rates on a LinkedIn profile. You want to add in call to actions with images on your profile in the featured section. So you want to add in 2 featured posts with images. The first one is your main call to action, which is most likely going to be book a call to get this, right? And second, what you can do is have a lead magnet, right? You can have some useful resource or some lead magnet you shared in the past that worked well, some AI tool or template that is helpful to your target audience. You can then, again, send them to a landing page or a newsletter tool. Maybe you can use Kit or Gumroad if you don't know where to set it up. And this can really help you capture some initial leads. Now, lastly, you want to optimize the experience section. Very common mistake I see too is not having a logo in your current business here because you haven't set up a LinkedIn business account. Take the time to set up a quick LinkedIn business account because if you don't have one, it's the easiest way for a business owner to tell that your company is not fully in operation yet or you're not professional yet, right? So take the time, set up a company LinkedIn page just to have the logo there. And again, here, same thing in the description. You want to take the opportunity to call out your target audience, your solution, and the outcome in the description. And again, you want to add in the link to your main offer or CTA, which can be simply just a Calendly to book in a call. Ideally, you also want to optimize this for all your past experiences so it looks like a complete professional profile, right? And the added benefit here is if you don't have much background experience yet, if you put some of these links and text, it will look like you have a lot more experience than you actually have. Now, lastly, we can of course start using DMs to actively reach out to potential leads. Now, how do you do that? First of all, I highly recommend to do intent-based outreach, meaning now you're doing content, of course, and hopefully you're starting to get some engagement. What you can then start to do is reach out to people that have already shown some type of interest in your content, either through likes or comments, or maybe they've sent you a connection request. Now, why? Because the likelihood you're going to get answers is far higher from these people than sending complete cold DMs. Of course, that's another strategy, but that would be another video, right? So LinkedIn is pretty strict on messaging limits, especially when you're going to use automation. So we want to make sure we reach out to prospects that have actually shown engagement in order to get high response rates, right? And this is generally why you don't have to think about this from at the start. First, you want to focus on getting consistent on LinkedIn. But once you have it, what you can do is use a tool like Triggerify to automatically scrape all your post engagers, or use an API like Unipal together with an NNN automation that scrapes all these post engagers. Now, before trying to reach out to all of them, what you want to do is make sure to qualify and filter out your non-ICPs, right? So the people who are not potential customers. And again, in Triggerify, you can do this pretty easily. You can also build an automation around it in NNN that filters out your ICPs, your non-ICPs, and then you can start sending DMs. Now, first, I would recommend doing it manually just to see if you get any answers, if your messages are good. But if you want to do it, you can do it through Unipal. Also, there are tools like HeyReach, one of the most used platforms for LinkedIn outreach. Now, the key here is in the first connection request, you never want to pitch, right? The only goal in a connection request is to make the connection, right? So, for example, you can mention the post they've engaged with, and then in the follow-up message, the first message after that one, you still don't want to pitch. You want to open it up with a question to spark a potential conversation, right? For example, have you done anything with AI automation yet? And then if they still don't answer, you can send your last message and soft pitch your services. But again, I wouldn't worry too much about DMing when you're just starting out. Focus on being consistent on the LinkedIn content creation. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, all the free resources that I mentioned are in the link in the description below. If you're interested in more help in building your AI business, you can also check out my AI Accelerator in the link in the description below. And if you want access to our full LinkedIn solution, which we sell to businesses too, you can also check out the yearly plan of my AI Accelerator, where we give it away to non-businesses too.